Good morning. Thank you for joining the show today. I am so happy you're here so we can talk about what's going around in Regina. Today I have a wonderful lady on the show. Her name's Lisa Boehm. Did I say that wrong now? I totally did. How do I say it?
You have two choices. There's Boehm or Boehm.
Boehm,
Either
Boehm. I said it wrong.
it's all good.
Well, you guys, Lisa is here. And I'm so happy she's here because she has been a bit of an inspiration to me as of lately. She is a member of the RWN, which I am as well. And she also is a speaker, which I like to talk a lot too. And you've been teaching us about resilience. And I think it's a really good topic that a lot of us, don't prepare for enough. And I think that you're sending out such a good message, and I'm so happy you want to share it.
Absolutely. It's one of my favorite things to talk about.
So let's step back a few steps here. So how did you get your insight into life and looking at it through this lens? Why don't you kind of fill us in on how you want to explain that?
Well, the short story might be best for the show, but really, life has a way of continually throwing punches at us. Small punches, big punches, and then the on your knees, on the floor
Gut
punches.
wrenching.
And, mental health has been a part of my life for the last 23 years. But I think where I really realized that I needed some serious tools in my tool belt was after we lost our daughter Katie in a car accident. She was 17 years old, and just it came out of left field. Like, it was a true accident. It was, she went out on a regular Tuesday night to run an errand and never came home again.
How do you prepare for something like
Oh,
that?
you don't. You don't. On one on one hand, I feel like all the other stuff I'd gone through in my life up till that point. I mean, nothing prepares you, but I felt like I had a few tools in my tool belt. Like I had dealt with depression, I had dealt with anxiety. I had gotten myself up off the floor over a variety of other heartbreaks in my life, but nothing was quite like this. But it made me realize that we all have some kind of adversity at some point. You don't know what it's going to be. It might be a really rotten divorce. It might be a job loss. It might be loss of your partner, whatever that looks like. And then we're living in this crazy world.
Yeah.
You turn on the news, and between politics and wars and it's a stressful life that we're living.
It's not easy.
No, so I think resilience is something that we can all benefit from.
I agree. I 100% agree. And I think those extra tools in your tool belt like are valuable, just knowing that there's like-minded people out there and talking about it and what you're doing. It's bigger than just the tool itself. And I think that's really something that I think I'm really envious of, how you've taken something and made it such a beautiful thing. Like, you've grown, like, I'm so sorry you got this shitty seed that you had to plant and deal with, but you've watered that to create something really like a beautiful gift for all of us to see and learn from. And I think that if you could share with us some of those kind of tools that you've shared with, maybe in your conversations at the Women's Network, or maybe when you're on stage with somebody from like a Broncos crash, like these are huge, huge, powerful experiences to learn from. And the worst things that happen to us, we learn the most from.
100%.
So, like, you got kicked the worst, so teach me what you learned. I'm sorry. Is that a good way of saying it?
Yeah, I mean, we all get, yeah, I
I'm
think
sorry.
so. No, it's fine.
Tell me what you learned from it, though, and
What I
what I
learned.
could learn from you.
You kind of alluded to that a minute ago, but last week I had the incredible opportunity to share the stage with Ty Smith from the Humboldt Broncos crash. And he and I both obviously have different stories, but so many parallels. And what we did both share that was similar is that we all have a story, every single one of us. And we don't compare. Like, comparison, when I first talked to Ty on the phone as we were prepping for this, I said, well, gosh, I feel so connected to you. Katie's car accident involved a semi as well, and she was 17. A lot of the young players
Parallels.
on the bus were in their late teens, and so on and so forth. And I was kind of apologizing to him that my pain, my awfulness, couldn't possibly compare to his. And he was so sweet and graceful, and he said, we all have a story, and nobody's story is worse or easier than anyone else's. And my big takeaway from Ty actually was the more we can share our stories, whatever that is, the more it gives other people permission to share theirs. And I thought that was so powerful.
It's true, though.
It is, because if we hold our stuff inside, then the next person's thinking, well, gosh,
They're so strong. They went through it all, and I can't understand how they are. But you were authentic. I loved how you said, I remember the first time we went on a trip and I ran out to the beach and I smiled for the first time. I think that's how you explained it.
Yeah, that was a big, powerful moment for me. And short story is that after we lost Katie, my son, my husband, and I were all doing our grief so differently. So we'd take these little trips and try and figure out how to be a family of three again. And there was one moment, about 6 or 7 months after we lost Katie. We'd gone on a beautiful hike. We kind of crashed through the trees and came onto the beach. It was beautiful. It was warm. The sun was shining. There's forest on one side, ocean on the other, and it was just like, wow. And I remember tipping my head up to the sun and smiling and genuinely being happy for that moment. And then feeling so guilty. Like, what is wrong with me?
But are you not supposed to ever be happy again?
Well, there are some people out there that do believe that, and that was the belief that I held at that moment. I thought, what is wrong with me? I'm a horrible human being. But I kind of had this kind of Oprah Winfrey aha moment when I realized that my grief could be carried in one hand, and I could have that joy, that laughter, that happiness, even if it just came in bits and bites and
in its own waves.
In its own ways, you're right. And that the two things could coexist, that I didn't have to choose just grief. I didn't have to, pretend I was just happy all the time when grief was still there too.
So you can live it both.
Absolutely. And I think, for your listeners who may not be experiencing grief, and honestly, I hope nobody has to, but maybe they're carrying something else that's really heavy and hard right now. Struggles at home, finances, like anything. We can learn to carry these things and kind of integrate them into life in a way that we can find the moments of joy.
I love that. And I think that we don't communicate, a lot of the negative things that go on. On your computer you can send a comment and this and that, but to face, to be like, this is a problem that's going on in my life and I'm sad, or this happened and it was embarrassing, I was so emotional over it, or we have all these bad emotions attached to feelings and not expressing them, and I think by shoving all that in, it makes people go crazy.
Yeah, it's not healthy at all. Physically, mentally, or spiritually.
And having examples of people that are here, let's talk about this, and I don't know, almost unpack it, but just allowing the space to unpack it and not have a judgment. Having a person like that around, that's what you gave everybody, that space. And I think that allows people to feel comfortable with you more than anything. We were both at an event the other day, and it wasn't a good topic. It was human trafficking, right? And I found a lot of people didn't want to talk about that one either. It's just, I feel like some people just the hard topics are hard to talk about, but it's happening.
100%. And I find that with grief too. It's, unfortunately, none of us are making it out of here alive. So not only is it our own mortality, but at some point we're going to lose people that we love too, whether they are really close or, perhaps older, or it doesn't matter, but we're going to lose people. And when people are in grief, that's when they want to talk about it. But that's not the time to learn about it. And same be said for human trafficking or other really heavy topics. People think, oh, that's not part of my world. Why would I want to learn about it? And yet, as we learn, it is happening in our backyards. And even our children or our one day grandchildren and neighbors can all be vulnerable. So the best time to learn about things is when it's not happening to us.
So, resilience.
Resilience.
Let's learn a few tools today. How about?
I think having the right people in your circle is so important. So important. Even in my own journey, it took me a lot to realize that while losing my daughter and grief was a part of my world, it was going to be a part of my world forever. I needed to find people that were able to carry this all and to smile and to, be that bright light for other people. So I actively sought out those people. And in some cases, they weren't always people managing grief, but they had been through something else. And their light allowed me to shine my light and even to show me how to shine my light. Because when you're in the depths of yuck, whatever your yuck is,
it's hard to get out of it.
It's hard to think that there is light somewhere. So sometimes you're observing from the sideline. But I think hope is so powerful. And being around people like that always gives me hope. Even meeting Ty Smith, he's 25 years old. He's been through just an enormous tragedy. He's a young man with the rest of his life in front of him. And for every, he has every right in the world to really be an unhappy young man, but he's not. And I find when I meet somebody like that, it gives me hope that there are ways forward. So that's a big one.
So your crew of people that you surround yourself with, try and find one that matches your energy.
Well, and you know what? It's not easy to find,
No.
So you might have to join different groups like RWN, or, maybe there's a grief group out there. When I was checking out grief groups, I did a lot of shopping. I stopped in, I pulled out, I went online, I went in, and it took me a long time to find the fit in the people that
felt
I
right.
needed for me. Because we're all individual snowflakes, right? We need different things.
Yings to yangs and everything in between.
All that.
Beautiful. Sure. Okay, so surround yourself with like-minded creatures that are positive. I think that is a big one. I found that with RWN. There's pockets of people like that, which is wonderful. What's another tool we can use?
I think mindset is a huge tool, and that's a tool that can be really hard to build or to acquire.
Especially if you get the squiggles going the wrong way, to get them to reset to go the other way is difficult because you get those patterns.
Absolutely, and that self-talk can really get us into some bad spots. And this is where the people and the hope, this all starts tying together, because the people you surround yourself with, and I can't remember who said that. I want to say it's Oprah. I might be wrong. We are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, right? So if you want to be that person that, finds more light, if you want to be that person that has a resilient mindset, you got to find those people. And
latch on to them.
Yes, and observe and spend time with them and find out how they get themselves out of the darkness. Another word that I use for mindset is perspective.
It's a hard word, perspective.
But game changer.
100%. I keep on saying 100%, but it is.
Yes. And for me, for example, I was very angry after we lost Katie.
So many other people aren't living life to the fullest.
Well, and I would never, ever, ever say that one life is more valuable than another.
But this 85-year-old could have worked a little bit better.
Or there's just some really awful people in this world.
It doesn't make sense.
We saw in the human trafficking presentation, there's some really yucky people out there doing yucky things. And unfortunately life isn't fair. But I spent a lot of time, why my kid? Why my kid? But then I started switching the perspective around in my head, because I have spent 33 years working at the cancer clinic. I've seen a lot. I've met a lot of people who have lost family members, and some of those family members were children.
Yeah.
I think that might be the most unfair thing ever, but my point is that, I would say previously, I only had Katie in my life for 17 and a half years. How unfair. It ticked me off. But then when I just switched my perspective around a little bit and said, I was lucky I had Katie in my life for 17 and a half years. And reflecting on those cancer patients, she was healthy, she was happy, we got to travel. You know, she lived a lot of good life in those 17 and a half years, and I got to be her mom.
Perspective.
You know, does it work for me every day? Am I skipping through the flower fields, you know, under rainbows and eating chocolate chip cupcakes, which does make me happy? But no, it doesn't. But, you know, I have the tools now and I have the perspective that I can reflect back on that and say, yeah, okay, let's go back there for a minute.
Well, and sharing your perspective is big for people to really like take a second to like think about when we're complaining and when our kids are driving us crazy or excuse me, all those things that we take for granted. You know, perspective definitely is a valuable tool to embrace those moments.
Absolutely.
So what's your plan going forward? You have this perspective. Where are you going with it?
Well, I have a podcast and I really love talking about resilience and mental health, which I think, you know, maybe this is a little bit dramatic to say, but I feel like we've kind of come out of one pandemic, COVID, obviously, and we're heading straight into another, and that's mental health. I see it everywhere, you know, as somebody who is a frontline worker at the cancer clinic and healthcare. We liaise with frontline workers like EMTs all the time, teacher friends. You do not have to look very far to see that people are struggling now more than ever. And I love the resilience piece, and I think that the two do really work well together. So my hope is to share more messages of mental health and resilience.
So you're here taking calls to share your story, your perspective on how we can like live together in maybe a more healthier way.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that our health comes down to not only our physical health, but our mental well-being as well.
I'm trying to really start to understand that the food I put is the gasoline for my body.
Yes.
And I'm one of those moms that don't eat until noon because my kids, I get them out the door, then I drink my coffee for a couple hours, then maybe I'll nibble on this. And I've had people come on the show and talk about how that's not good. You need to have like your protein in your belly. So I made a bunch of like egg bites, like Tim Hortons ones, just this past like week. And they were in the fridge all week long. So it was easy for me. And I went in and I took it and I grabbed it and I ate it and I had it in my tummy. And it was like I was taking care of myself for the first time, right?
Yeah.
We don't do that enough.
No, and it doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't have to start training for a marathon. You don't have to become Martha Stewart in the kitchen. Like you say, it's everything in life, I think, is baby steps. You know, and one baby step leads to the next. And then you start having confidence and you think, oh yeah, I do feel better when I have a little bit of breakfast. My brain isn't so foggy. I'm not grumpy, whatever the situation is. And then
or eating sugar all night long because you have cravings.
Yeah.
So it stops that. It's just like, I don't think moms and women put ourselves first very often.
Oh, no. No. And I don't know if that's a generational thing. I don't know. I am guilty. I am so guilty. I will not, even though we're empty nesters now, I will not allow myself, quote unquote, to have fun until all the jobs are done. All the housework, all the things on my to-do. Well, when does that ever happen?
You're never going to be done at all. I know. I took this like training with Candice Bocke. She has like the fundamentals that she does. And one of the things that she does is she has the My Life Planner. And she's like, plan fun. Plan it. Put it in your calendar. And you know, I've done that. And like, I'm not consistent, which is probably not great, but I do know the weeks where I was like, you're gonna do something for yourself during that 2 hours, you better do it. It at least put it in my head to be like, I gotta do this.
Yeah.
And it was a change from something that I would normally do. So that shouldn't be the change. It should be normally I'm doing stuff for me so I'm my best self.
Well, you know what I started doing along the same lines, but I use my phone, the calendar in my phone for all my scheduling. And I've blocked off Wednesday afternoons and Friday afternoons. And I'm not very good at sticking to it. However, it's in there. It's a start for me. I'm trying to have coffee dates on Wednesday afternoon. I am, Friday afternoons, my idea is that I will slow down or I'll plan
Drinks.
Drinks, have the neighbors over.
Yes,
but
make
it's
a good
in
supper.
there.
It's your time.
It's my time. Yeah. So
I think that's key. But I feel like you have to feel good about yourself to want to be alone sometimes and to do, like, you know what I mean? Like, well, actually, when I'm not feeling great, I like to be alone too. I don't know. I just think that if we make time for ourselves and commit that to yourself regularly, it's only going to bring you like more positive energy, which will then bring more good things.
Absolutely. And then this kind of circles back to what we were originally saying. I've slotted time in, for coffee dates. Well, that comes back to connecting with important people in my life, connecting with the people that I find are positive, that bring me good energy.
Fill that cup.
So it's really that cycle of just continually doing better things for ourselves.
And when you get off that path, it's okay, but jump back on it when you're ready.
Exactly.
And it's okay. I feel like we all think people are thinking about us and judging us. And I honestly think that we're also worried about that on our own side.
And they don't care.
And they don't care, right? Like,
No.
the only person that's worrying about it is you.
100%.
Nobody can care about you because they're worrying about all of their own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of have, in my 40s, been like really that mindset. I think having a baby helps too, because you go through like the humbling experience of that once you're done, it's like, you know what, I don't care.
Yeah.
I hope at least.
Yeah, we have to let go. We've got a lot of stuff we need to let go of that just weigh us down. And I think as a human being, we only have room for so and so much stuff. So do you want to fill up that area with positive stuff that makes you feel better? Or do you want to just keep putting in the stuff that makes you feel worse?
It's true. So for somebody who's looking to like just find a new crew of people or go and like try and do new things, what are some things around Regina that we can do? Like, we've mentioned Regina Women's Network. That's a good one, but I get it. Lots of people don't want to commit to something. That's fine. Where else can we like find some joy?
Well, like I say, I would look in your own backyard first. Like, think of those people maybe you've met, an acquaintance, or somebody, your neighbor over the back fence that you always keep meaning to want to get together with. It's kind of think, who have you met already that you've just been really interested in maybe spending more time with? And it's funny because I think when we are open to things, the universe sends that to us. I would like to really meet people, that are maybe a little bit more sunshiny, and you're open to that, you're going to find it. When you go looking for things, I think you just find them.
And I think we've been stuck in our houses and behind screens so much that,
oh gosh, yeah.
Like, I was dying just to have a conversation with somebody that was like, especially because I'm a sole proprietor. So like, and you, I imagine with your speaking stuff, like, you're on your own quite a lot. So it's like having like a space to just not be work, but like also feel like they're like-minded spirits is really big.
Yeah.
I just had a lady on that was talking about sound baths.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, so she's at the Knox Met, and she has a room in the back. And she said, like, we've kind of, like the church, like getting together with your community. It's less and less people are doing that. And we don't have, like, this, like, regular time to commit, like to see each other and build and feel like that part of a community. So she's actually creating it with her sound bath community, and they're having every equinox, like, everybody will get together and they'll have this ritual where they can feel like mindedness together. I think that's such a neat way of creating a little environment here in Regina. I didn't even know it existed until today.
Exactly. And I think that there are these little pockets. I mean, you think of the running room. Here's people that have something in common. They've got
Lots of energy.
Not a plug for them or anything like that, but really and truly, if you're, interested in walking a marathon, if you're interested in learning to run or doing all these things, yes, like-minded people in a place doing the same thing.
And that one doesn't cost anything. It's just like meet at this time, I think.
They have a group, yep. Mm-hmm. I mean, they do have sessions where, there's a leader who's helping you meet your goals, but, what things are you interested in? Like, I have become very interested in pottery. I really want to take pottery classes.
You gotta come with me. I
I'm
do
going
pottery
with
every
you.
Monday night.
Okay.
Char's shop. She has a little like garage, and we do pottery in it.
I'm coming. Okay. I'm
so
excited.
Fun. It is very nice. And the nice thing about pottery is it should be a tool in everybody's tool belt, because it is like you have to really concentrate on just
being in the moment, mindful.
And everything is just
love that.
It's very nice. I love it.
Okay.
It's a good one.
Yes.
Well, thank you for coming on, and thank you for spreading your word. If anything we can learn our experiences collectively. You know what I mean?
That's just it. All we need to do is start having more conversations.
Come again.
Definitely.
Okay. Everybody out there, thank you so much for listening. And if you have an interesting topic that you want to join the conversation with, please reach out. We're always interested in having interesting conversations. So take care out there. Bye now.